checking that it's running. Put that down. Show you a little slideshow, some landscapes. Again. I was thinking about a saying I once saw or read. I don't remember it exactly, but it was something like, I searched for it, for the truth, through the religions. I search for the truth to scholars and wise men, seers, prophets. I search for the truth in science. I search for the truth in the alternative ways of seeing things, the alternative spiritual directions, but I could not find it. And then I looked into my heart, and there it was, all along. In my heart's ability to love unselfishly, there I found the truth. And like that, I've been searching through religions, especially through Christianity, because I found almost 30 years ago, I think it was almost 30 years ago, I found some words of Jesus that resonated with me. Wow. It was not because I said, oh, this is the truth, and had a revelation or anything like that. It was more like, that is common sense. That is a good way to look at things and try to live by. And those words by Jesus, with these two sentences, do not do unto others as you would not that others should do unto you, but do unto others as you would that others should do unto you. It made perfect sense to me, because I am technically, I grew up as an orphan. I had a father somewhere out there, which I did not know. He was never there. And my mother was not there mentally, because they declared her mentally ill and gave her drugs, so she was not there for me. She was only there for herself and played the victim part. So technically I had to work out everything for myself. So I had no guideline, no one telling me this is a good way of dealing with people, and if you experience this and this, and I could come to them with my troubles and my problems. None of that was available to me, so I had to find out everything for myself. And for many years that did not go so well. Because I did not understand people. I did not understand the unwritten rules which people live by. Nobody ever told me about those rules. So I was always surprised when I ran into them and met them somewhere in different groups of people. They all have their own unwritten rules, so they were different from situation to situation, from depending on where you are and who you talk to. And because I had to find out everything for myself, I had no what you can say, guidelines in life at all, no wisdom, no moral guidelines either. Of course, I knew a little bit about what's right and wrong, or what was allowed and not allowed. It's rather that. But there I found it. Do not do unto others as you would not that others should do unto you, but rather do unto others as you would that others should do unto you. That made sense. It was not that, oh, hallelujah, now I am saved or something like that. No way. It was just common sense to me. And I found it, and I did search everywhere. And every time I searched into a religion or or just by examining the religion, what they stood for, and through the alternative New Age groups or single persons who claim they knew what the truth is, I could not find it, because I started searching for if there really is a meaning to life. But I was not sure, because of what we are told by science about how the world and cosmos allegedly works. But when I looked into my heart, started trying to live it by this moral ideal, those two sentences of Jesus, then things started to happen. That changed everything. I stopped listening to what others had to say and try only to listen to what Jesus had to say. I certainly did not understand everything, and I still don't understand everything that Jesus is quoted to say. If I claim that, I would be a liar, because I don't. But the most basic truth, that I understand, and that I now know is real. It's true. Because by starting to live the truth, you will start to understand the truth, and it will be confirmed to you in the most surprising and unexpected ways if you insist on trying, even though you fail so much compared to the few times where you actually succeed in being righteous, as this moral ideal really describes. It's righteousness. It's the divine moral of God who sent Jesus. So things started happening. And man, I never expected that. I never heard that in any religious context at all. Certainly not from the Christians, and not from anyone else. And that's the reason why I want to share this with you. I don't have any religious group or sect or cult that I don't promote any of that kind and say, oh, join them and pay a member fee or something like that. No. And I don't have a book to sell you, anything like that. All I want is to tell you about this truth that I found. Because I found it. And it's actually real. I hardly dared hoping that it was real. But it is. But not many will believe me. Actually, I don't think I have met anyone yet who really believes me. There are a few who may believe it, but they seem to have their own twist on it, their own religious interpretation of it. And when they find out that I don't have any religious interpretation, and they find out that it actually demands of you to change yourself, to improve morally, to stand in the light of truth and look at yourself in the light of truth and change your negative moral, what you do wrong into the right moral ideal, then they run away almost screaming. I just don't hear anything from them. That's why Jesus said, few are they that find it. Very few. Many go in of the broad road, which leads to what they call death and damnation and so on. But very few go in of the straight and narrow road, or the straight and narrow path, which leads to the eternal life, or can potentially lead that to. And if all those religious people, they say there are 1.5 to 2 billion Christians in this world, and 1.2 billion, or maybe more, 1.5 billion Muslims, and how many Catholics are there, and how many Jews and Hindus and Buddhists and whatever they are called, all these religions. That is not a few. They are not the few who finds it. There is a saying, God says, no, not God says, but there is a quotation about God where some prophet has said, I don't think it's Jesus, but some prophet has said that, I'm trying to find it, remembering it, that which is highly esteemed or highly regarded among men is an abomination in the eyes of God. And religions are highly esteemed or regarded among men, aren't they? People love and men, human beings, in that sense. Religions, so they have not found it. And I never expected that I would find it, because it's hidden by the religions, especially by Christianity, which misuse every term, every name, every concept of what Jesus said, and every story about him. They misuse it and misrepresent it and interpret it into something religious, which is an obvious lie. Just take that they claim that Jesus is the creator. Jesus is God, they say, the creator. But Jesus said so many times in the Bible, in the very same Bible that they declare to be the truth, the Holy Bible as they call it. In that one, Jesus says so many times, I was sent by God. The words you hear are not mine, but God's who sent me. I'm not here to do my own will, but the will of God who sent me. I can on my own self do nothing, but only by the power of God, and so on. So that is a deliberate lie. They misrepresent Jesus. They don't believe Jesus. The Christians don't believe him. Obviously not. And they also tell people that their sins have no consequences as long as they believe in the dogma of the Christian religion. Then they tell people that their sins have no consequences. They will always look as righteous before God, no matter what they do. Does that mean then, that must logically mean that they can commit any degree of evil and still think that they are saved, and still think they will look righteous before God, and they are secured a place in the kingdom of heaven forever. They will get that they would get the ultimate reward for not doing anything right, for not being fair to others, not being good to others, and not avoid the opposite. That's why injustice dominates this world, because most religious people think like that. Not only the Christians. And that's sad. So few are those that find it. I'll stop this one and I'll show you something that I've written. It gets a little brighter. And this is what I really wanted to tell you, but I have to tell you the other things to make you understand why I claim to have found it, why I claim that they have not found it. Most people have not found the truth, because they are not willing to do the work that it demands to find it. And you will find it gradually. As you become better at mastering righteousness, as you are nearing the moral ideal of God, which are these two sentences down here. You will be able to see and understand more truth. And not before you do that, not before. It's a gradual process where you learn more and more as you get better at this, the moral ideal. Now let's take it from the start. Through God's moral ideal, you will find the truth. If you seek the absolute spiritual truth of God, the one and only truth, which can only be found through moral improvement by practicing righteousness, then this is for you, the true disciples of Jesus. Many have said the one and only truth, yes, but few know that it's true. Most believe that it's true, but knowing is a whole other ball game, I can tell you that. Now, we got to that, the true disciples of Jesus. The truth of God is very easy to understand, and at the same time, the biggest challenge of your life, as I told you. This is the true purpose of the many physical lives we live. Reincarnation is a fact, which then potentially can lead to the true meaning of this purpose, an eternal spiritual life in the kingdom of heaven. If you ever get so far, maybe next life again. It takes a lifetime and then some to learn. And you've got to be prepared to do the work, to improve yourself morally, practice righteousness. You've got to be prepared to do that. Not many are. This is the true spiritual teachings of Jesus the Christ. The moral ideal of God. Sorry for that. We try again. The moral ideal of God, which the true disciples of Jesus should strive to master eventually, is: you should not do unto others as you would not that others should do unto you. You should do unto others as you would that others should do unto you. And this is from what Jesus said in the Gospel of the Perfect Light, in that lection, of those two, because it's part of the law of love, which has more commandments, but the whole law of love is built on these two commandments. So when you start searching for the truth, concentrate on these two commandments, which is the same as love thy neighbor as thyself. Love others as you would want to be loved yourself. And this also apply. This is also valid. If you feel a need to correct or criticize someone, then do it as you would want to be corrected and criticized yourself, constructively. There's a big difference between what you can say is negative or destructive criticism, and then constructive criticism. The first is, of course, negative, and the second is building people up or inspiring and can be used for something. The second is positive, because it tries to teach people, and you will learn something in the process of trying to do it like that too. Not everyone is willing to receive a constructive correction or criticism, but at least you tried. And if the tendency with those who you do that with is that they don't accept it, even if you argue for it, and you have a case, so you can argue for it, and if they don't accept it, well, you can only use so much time and effort on that. And then trying to insist on telling people something they don't want to hear is a waste of both time and energy. For those who want to listen, that could be very positive if you do it constructively and not destructively. And this, as I said, it takes effort. This is obviously much easier said than done, but as we all know, practice makes perfect. Eventually, in time, some sunny day, maybe not even in this life, but you can build up a positive karma in this life, so you will avoid a lot of these things that you have built up from a former life, all the mistakes you make. If you correct many of them in this life, then you will stand much better starting your next life, because you may not remember the details. Normally, people do not remember the details of their former lives. But this, the spiritual truth and experience, you will be reminded of in the next life. And because you have a better moral in the next life, you will not have to meet those lessons again that you met in this life, which you dealt with in this life. So it makes sense like that. Now we move on from that one. If you practice righteousness and keep trying to reach this moral ideal of God, even though you occasionally fail at it, then you will find the truth of God. If you keep trying to reach this moral ideal, but you will fail, of course. In any learning process, failing occasionally is a natural part of the process of learning a new skill, especially when you're trying to master that skill to perfection, or at least close to perfection. Perfection may not be achievable, but if you don't strive for perfection, then you can never get close to perfection. And that's why Jesus said The disciple is not above his master, but everyone that is perfect shall be as his master. And he also said this, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. How can you be perfect like God? Well, you can be near the perfect moral, which is the divine moral of God. There you can, when we say perfect here, it is to be close to perfection. Perfection is of course not achievable as long as you live the physical life, or the physical lives, more than one reincarnation. But you can get close, eventually. And then I also wrote this, that the moral ideal of God expressed in another way. And you know this from the Bible, at least some of it. Therefore all things whatsoever you would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. Ye, that's how they express it. And then now this part that is not part of the Bible, which is missing from the Bible. And what you would not that men should do unto you, do ye not so to them. And back to the same as the Bible, for this is the law and the prophets. Which law does it talk about? This is in the Bible too. Which law could it be that they are talking? They are not talking about traffic law or any other kind of law, or the law of real estate, or the law of whatever. It's not a human-made law. Of course it's the law of God, which Jesus called the law of love in the Gospel of the Perfect Life, which I mention here and recommend for all true disciples to read. And this Gospel, which is the closest you ever get to a non-corrupted, genuine, original Gospel, you can find in the link of the banner of my YouTube channel, where I call the link, because I cannot, all that cannot be in the link, the whole title, so I just call it the original Gospel. That is the title of the link, without the quotations, of course. And that you can download and keep for free, of course, because, as Jesus said, freely you have received, freely give. That is the Spirit. What you have received of truth, you freely give. You don't ask anyone for something on PayPal, or what is it, a Patreon subscription or something like that. No. As many of these religious organizations do, or people who claim to know something about spirituality do. No. Freely you have received, freely give. Freely I have received the truth, and freely I give the truth. Because I love the potential every human being has. And that potential is to learn the truth through practicing righteousness, through moral improvement by practicing righteousness. So this is very short, simply that you need to do to find the truth. And as I said, I never expected to find the truth. I almost gave up. I was unsure that it was real. And then I started more and more trying to practice righteousness. And did I fail a lot? Yes, I did. Did I only succeed a little here and there in few periods of my life? Yes, I did. But that was my path, my way. It may be different for you. That depends on who you are and how devoted you are to it. But know that if you get to a point where you want to tell others about it, don't start by doing that. Learn it yourself first and be sure of what you're talking about. But if you get to that point, know that people would hate what you have to say. They hate the truth because the truth reminds them of what they are not doing, that about the righteousness they are not practicing. That they, even if they consider themselves to be also spiritual and also moral and also everything, which they think automatically happens if they just believe in some kind of dogma or spiritual concept or something like that. Because they're reminded of how they sin, how they fail morally compared to the divine moral of God, of course. They will hate what you have to say. They feel accused. Because as Jesus says, if I had not come and spoken to them, they would not have had sin. But now they have no cloak for their sin. Now they cannot hide behind anything because I reveal that they are not doing what they are supposed to do. I reveal their sins because I talk truth. You shall be hated. You shall be hated by all men for my name's sake. Jesus said something like that too. So don't think people would welcome you with open arms and say, "Oh, I'm so happy you have found the truth, and I really want to do and practice right from that and better myself and improve myself morally and avoid sinning and avoid doing what's wrong and start being fair to others and not being unfair and start being good to others, not being evil and so on." Don't expect that to happen. Most will not like what you have to say. I'm being honest with you. I will not sugarcoat this. I'm honest with you. That is the biggest challenge of your life. And I'm honest with you, talking from the words of Jesus, that you should be hated by all men for my name's sake. When the world hates you, you should know that it hated me before you. If you were of the world would love its own. But you are not of the world, and I have chosen you out of the world. Therefore, you are hated. Therefore, people hate you. Those because you reveal their lack of moral understanding. You reveal how they fail morally. And they are not what they pretend to be. They are not as good, as moral, as fair as they pretend to be when it comes to it. And this does not only apply to what it looks like outside. Because a well-meant action, well-meant thing you do to others may look for some people as an evil thing. And something that people do that is evil meant may look good from the outside for others. But it's the intention that matters. It's not the act itself, but the intention behind the act that really matters. It's in your every thought, word, and action. And that is where the intention lies. The intention starts in your thought, and goes to your word and becomes your action. And that intention, God knows if you have good or bad intention, and that's what counts. And religions and new or old and so on, they don't count at all in the eyes of God. God does not favor anyone or disfavor anyone. So it's not about religions or your status in society, or many people love to hear what you have to say. It's not about that. What really matters in the eyes of God is how you treat your fellow beings. And I say fellow beings because I include the animals. How you treat others. If you treat them fair or unfair, good or evil. It's that simple. That's what it's all about, and God always knows what your intentions are in your heart. And if you have fair, good intentions, a good will in what you do, and you can teach yourself through moral improvement by practicing righteousness to be more and more well-meaning in your thoughts, your words, and your actions, then God will reward you for it. If you don't do it to be seen by others as being good and to bathe in the fame of others, if you don't do it to please others, and so they will say how good a person you are and so on. If that is not, because then you have that is a wrong attitude to have about it. If you do your fairness and goodness and be righteous in the hidden, then the one who is hidden, God, will openly reward you. You would know that God appreciates it, that you please God, that you please God by doing the right thing. So the truth can be found. And people think I am very arrogant and very, what do you call it? I must be crazy because I come here and claim to have found the truth, which no one else has found. No one else that, of course someone else has found it, but I have not met them yet. But I'm sure someone else in this world have found it. I certainly hope so. But they think you're crazy when you say that. I think I'm crazy. And, oh, so you think you're so righteous and you're above us all morally and so on. No, I don't. I am still learning. I am not righteous. I am striving to become righteous some sunny day eventually, but I'm not righteous now. I have it in my mind and my heart, and I'm trying. And I have done it to a certain small, modest degree. I have practiced righteousness, improved myself morally, yes. And that's how I found it, because that's the only way the truth will be revealed to you and you will be able to understand it. If you actually do the work needed to find it. And that's why people don't understand even the small amount of truth that I have found. They don't even understand that. And they don't want to have anything, most don't want to have anything to do with it. Because, oh, I have to make an effort. I have to change myself. Yes, you have. In order to make this world a better place, you have to become the change you want to see happen. You have to start with yourself. Very logical. And when you get to a certain point, you can start trying to inspire others to do the same. encourage them and inspire them, like I'm trying to do with you right now, who watches this video. But I talked enough about that. In reality, I just want to show you the basic how to find the truth. True God's divine moral. True God's moral ideal. So that's all I have to say for now. I'm going to stop the nice images here, the nice photos it is. And I talk to you later in another video. So be well out there. Be fair, don't be unfair. Do good, don't do evil. It's that simple. And at the same time, that challenging to do. But try it and see what happens if you keep on trying, even though you occasionally fail at doing so. My throat has gone dry. But that's all I have to say for now. See you out there in the real world. Bye for now.